See if this thing, get this thing to keep working. All right, this is the 4th time that I've been trying to do this freaking presentation. Let's hope it works, right? Okay, so I'm not going to go through this. All right. I'm going to let you go through social traps. It's part of your, it's in your textbook, described pretty well. I'll let you actually go through the specifics on social traps. I do want to talk about something that it's relevant, which is something called the dollar auction game. And in the dollar auction game, what we do is I auction off $1. And it's the same as a standard auction, but the only difference is that not just that the person who gets this highest, let's see, the highest bid wins the object, which is the $1 in this case, but it's actually the case that the person who is the runner-up also has to pay. And so if the runner-up actually also has to pay, then it's more like an arms race, as it were. And as it turns out, when we play this game, people get hooked on it, and we end up having people paying over $1 for the dollar itself. Sometimes I've auctioned off the dollar for $4. Okay, so this is in a sense actually like being involved in a bar fight. There's only one winner in the bar fight, but it's not like the winner is the only one actually who has to deal with the danger of aggression, right? Both actually take their lumps, right? Both are injured. Only one wins. Wars work this way as well. Political elections work this way. Does Hillary Clinton get to be vice president because she was the runner-up to Donald Trump? No. In 2016, she gets nothing. She spent all that money, all that energy, only one winner. Romantic relationships sometimes work this way. We end up getting involved, and we put a lot of effort, a lot of heartache into a relationship. Even though it might be, in fact, actually be rather toxic. So why do we play games like a dollar auction? Well, we have a self-serving bias. We actually think we're going to be successful. We have a higher probability. A positive illusion is about a probability of success. Why do we play? We, in fact, actually want to be consistent. We don't want to look like we are, in fact, being wishy-washy. We want to stick with our commitments. We're loss averse, right? So you don't want to be a loser. You want to be a winner. And once you actually feel like you're going to be the loser, you'll take risks. You'll take ever more important risks to try to avoid sure losses. Men tend to do this more so than women, but women do it as well. We sometimes, when we take possession of something, so you take possession of that dollar, what you're going to do is you're going to ascribe higher value to that dollar than you otherwise would have. You ascribe possession of a person, and you give yourself, you ascribe higher value to that person than that person actually really might be in the real world. So we call this the endowment effect. The endowment effect actually could be, so it's in experiments, it's oftentimes shown that if you give somebody a mug and you say, how much are you willing to receive to part with that mug, people will say $6 or $7. If you don't get the mug and you're watching somebody actually receive the mug, you'll say the mug is only worth $4 or $5. So because you are given the mug, it's worth more to you. Because you have this brooch or this piece of costume jewelry that your grandmother gave you, it's worth more to you, but to other people it's worthless. Okay, so I'm going to make sure I just get to the nuts and bolts here. There's something called dual process theory that says that we're utilitarian when we contemplate non-moral or impersonal dilemmas. So a non-moral dilemma is something like, is it okay to turn right on this road over here to pick up more turnips for your turnip truck than to turn left and pick fewer, right? So you're just thinking about, okay, I'm trying to maximize the amount of turnips I'm trying to get. And so you're just thinking in terms of numbers, right? So you can think of that as like a non-moral dilemma. Then you actually have moral dilemmas, which could be impersonal, which is something like, is it okay to pull a switch, kill one person, save 5 people? Or is it okay to push a button and launch a bomb, and the bomb will go shoot a terrorist or something? Right? That's it's a non-moral dilemma. I mean, I'm sorry, that's a moral dilemma, but it's impersonal. Now, personal dilemmas are things like, is it okay to push a fat guy in front of a trolley in order to save 5 lives? Or is it okay to harvest the organs as a doctor, pull all the organs out of this one person to save the lives of 5 other people? That's a personal dilemma because you're up close and personal. Okay, so dual process theory says that personal harm represents violations familiar to all primates. So pushing somebody, right, is something that primates is familiar to all primates, and so it's linked to our ancient hot emotional system in the limbic areas of our brain. And impersonal harm is uniquely human, so being able to say, oh, I'm going to push a button and launch a bomb, or I'm going to pull a switch and change the direction of a trolley, that's different, right? On animal, that's a uniquely human kind of thing, and so it doesn't completely map onto our primate brain, right? That it's something that is in a sense unnatural to think of impersonal moral dilemmas, because throughout our evolutionary history, we would have been up close and personal, right? When we're causing harm to others, there were no trolleys and there were no buttons to push to shoot bombs to across the world. They argue that impersonal harm is like a non-moral dilemma, and so we're able just to make complete trade-offs, right? Because it's impersonal. So we're able to say something like, yes, it's okay to launch a bomb and bomb the house of a terrorist, even if it kills other people there, because we're going to save lives because he's not going to bomb all of us, right? Or it's okay to pull a switch causing the death of somebody, one person, because it's not close and personal to us. We can just think in the sense of pure utilitarian thinking. There is a study actually that in fact actually demonstrated this to be the case, in which people read through 3 different kinds of moral dilemmas: moral personal, moral impersonal, and non-moral dilemmas. And then they looked actually what parts of the brain in fact actually line up. When you think actually, as it turns out, when you contemplate personal dilemmas, the areas of your brain that linked to emotion in fact actually are more active. But when you think of impersonal dilemmas, right, like pulling a switch, or pushing a button, instead of doing harm up and close and personal, when you think of impersonal dilemmas, the analytical parts of your brain actually designed to work with working memory, are in fact actually more activated. And it's in fact actually the case that there's no difference, at least in this study, between thinking about impersonal dilemmas and thinking about non-moral dilemmas at all. So we did a replication of an extension of this study, actually, but we expected to find more resolution with the emotional measurements. So what we did is made the prediction that you expect actually that even though impersonal harm is uniquely human, it should still be more arousing than completely non-moral dilemmas. We tested this in a large sample and in an experiment designed to measure actual behavior, not just thinking. Okay, so we in fact actually had within subjects 2 conditions: an impersonal moral dilemma, where you were expected to pull a switch, causing the death of 1 person and saving 5 people. And then we had a non-moral dilemma, which you would just stand. If you just stood there, the trolley actually would come by and would kill 1 person but save the lives of 5 people. And we measured this by using skip conductance. You can actually take a look at this by clicking on this link here, and you can have a look-see of what the maybe we might be able to do it here. Looks like it's working. Okay, a slow connection. Video's not good. Video is actually high resolution. Okay, so people, research subjects actually were expected to act out trolley problem, actually in a moral dilemma in the virtual reality. What we in fact actually found that when you were expected to not do anything, you stand there and the trolley will kill one person, save 5, you were not emotionally aroused. You're more emotionally aroused when you're expected to actually do something. When you're in the condition actually where you were expected to do something, the more emotionally aroused you were, the less likely you were to pull the switch, killing one person to save 5. If you were less aroused, you were actually more likely to pull the switch. We replicated and extended this experiment using a version where you actually had to push a big guy to the tracks. And this is in fact actually what happens. When you do nothing, you're less aroused. When you actually have to do something, you're more aroused. In the condition when you're expected actually to do something, arousal is linked actually to doing nothing. Less arousal is linked actually to having to do something. Right? So you actually did something. You actually pushed the guy. You're less aroused actually when you have to push the guy than when you don't push the guy. Okay, so I think that'll do it for this lesson. A couple of other clicker items that you want to, don't really have time actually to go through each one of these. Let's see here, what explains a better option? Conservatives value in-group loyalty more than liberals. That explains the other items. Let's see, answer here is E, A, and C. The answer here is D. All of the above, and that one, and this one also is all of the above. And the answer to this one is going to be C here as well. Okay, so I think that'll do it for today. I will talk to you soon.